Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, welcome to another movie episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's cloned themselves with me tonight?
My name is Joe. It's been 3 years since the Raccoon City incident, and I'm still in this goddamn fucking apocalypse.
This is Blair Farrell from comicbookvideogames.com, aka Star Power Bitches.
And we are continuing our Resident Evil journey of the movies. And we're here to talk about Resident Evil Afterlife, which came out in 2010. And I have directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. And I had no memory of this movie until I watched it last night. Absolutely none. Saw this once in theaters, went, that's a cool film. And then I went and told the future Mike that this is a cool movie. They lied to future Mike. And yeah, that's all. I've never seen it again since. Joe, what's your history with this film?
The same thing as every history. I love these fucking movies. I don't remember ever seeing this movie, in fact, but I've seen it. I've seen it before I saw it last night, so I had a good time with it.
Okay. And Blair.
Well, this came in 2010, which is hard to tell from the excessive 3D and slow motion. And for me, that was at a time when I loved Resident Evil, but my passion was starting to die down because the games were starting to get divisive and directionless. So I saw this in theater day one. I bought the Blu-ray the day it came out. I've seen it a few times. I've done a run through the series multiple times. My opinion of it go up and down. Lately, it's a down, because after watching Extinction, I think this might as well be like a reboot of the series because it doesn't line up with the other nonsense that they set up in the other ones.
Okay.
No, that's there.
This felt like the weakest one to me. Like, maybe, cause I used to think 3 was the worst, but now I'm starting to think, is this one the worst?
This one's the worst.
Oh, 6
Okay.
is the worst.
I like
Never seen 6.
Oh,
Still.
it's so bad, and someone died making it.
Yeah, I know that part.
Oh, yeah.
But that's all. I was seeing all these in theaters, but because of the time that 6 came out, my life was a bit not great. I didn't get around to it, and for some reason, all these years later, I still have never watched that movie. One day.
Well, if you think this thing is a walking contradiction, just wait until 6 rolls around.
It just feels like they didn't know what to do. Because this is a continuation of a series, and each movie is essentially a sequel to the last one, and it continues the universe. But at the same time, they try to make them feel standalone-ish enough that you wouldn't have to have seen the others to enjoy this one. Like, I mean, this movie starts off in Japan, which is not the beginning of the outbreak. Obviously, we know that because we've seen the other couple movies. Is that what you're talking about with where it's kind of like contradicting itself?
Well, no, because I pointed out in the Extinction episode, because when we rewatch Extinction, Alice goes down into the lab and she runs into the computer lady, and she says there's enough equipment in this lab to synthesize a cure to the outbreak and fix everything. Now, by my notes, because she talks to Claire and she says, oh, so you remember 18 months ago when we went to Arcadia? So that means it was 6 months after the opening with the clone fight. So that means it took 1 year for the world to have oceans and trees again and ice caps.
Oh, yeah, because it's...
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was just a section of the world. Or was the whole world like a desert? Oh, yeah, they even say in the opening the whole world like a
they
desert.
show like the globe in Resident Evil Extinction at the start, and it's just barren wasteland. But they never tell. I guess they want to go away and figure out like, oh, Umbrella scientists somehow kickstarted and terraformed the Earth again, and it only took a year. And in all that time, she was like building up her army of people to go, because that's the most important thing.
Okay, it's very much like we made a mistake and we know it, so we're just going to disregard it.
Yeah.
I wonder if originally it was supposed to end at 3, and then they went, no, make more.
I think it probably was, but then they made money, and then Paul W.S. Anderson probably couldn't get a movie made, so he was like, I can just keep making these.
I mean, he has been doing that, so...
This is also the one with, like, I know we usually talk about how people see these and they never play the game. this main one, I've been watching. I watched this one in the last night because I was with my husband, and the whole time I'm like, man, they really chose a weird movie to actually start sticking like lore from the games into the movie, because at the end of the day, like you don't like. I don't want to go too far ahead, but even in the beginning, like you have this whole scene where the clones show up and they do what they do, and you have Wesker's there, and he's a bad guy from the last movie because they tease him at the end of the last movie for people who know who he was in the games, and then they have the whole scene where she's in the helicopter and she tries to kill him, and he's like super fast, and it's like, oh, you wouldn't know that if you didn't play the games.
Well, he kind of has a line of dialogue when he injects her with the cure where he says, like, you're an outdated model, like I'm the future or something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's more than just the ending of 3, because they seed him throughout that entire thing, but he's just like the head of Umbrella, which, oh boy, it gets retconned in 6 hardcore.
Okay, I'm curious to get there.
I love 6. I know Blair says he hates it. I think 6 wraps everything up in a fucking ridiculous little bow, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I'm cool with that.
I look forward to it. Oh, and I should say the plot of this movie, well, there's 2 of them. It is Alice's cutting after Umbrella to kill Wesker and brings an army of clones for the first part of this movie, and then she is looking for her friends that went to Arcadia. And they don't know where they are.
Not to sound like a psychopath, like an evil scientist, but what a waste of clones. Like, they talk about they have like enough clones to raise an army, and they use it to attack, which they obviously know there's more than one fucking Umbrella base.
Yes.
But they send all the clones to one base, and then they're surprised when it gets nuked and all the clones get killed.
And, because you kind of talked about like how this links up with the games at the time, and it's so, you can tell they're in a hole or rode themselves into a corner, rather, that's what I meant to say, because the Resident Evil games had gone away from the T-Virus and the Umbrella Corporation. They just like cut it off like hardcore. And this one, they never really wrapped up the Umbrella plotline. Well, they never really wrapped up in the games either. They're just like, oh yeah, Congress took care of it.
That works better than what this does.
But now it's like Umbrella is still there, and they have Resident Evil 5 style monsters, which gets even more wacky in the 5th one. But again, it's like, what is the Umbrella Corporation doing? Like, the world is over and they're still experimenting with this, but to what means? To what ends? Like, it's so frustrating.
Because it doesn't make any sense.
See, Blair says that, and it gets even more confusing in the next movie.
How can it get more confusing?
You'll see.
So I have another time note, because at the start, it's the outbreak in Japan, which actually isn't the outbreak in Japan. It's a simulation that's retconned in 5.
Oh,
that's not
yeah!
actually Japan. That's the Japan stage of the Umbrella Fortress in Russia. And that happens, and then it says 4 years later, but 4 years later from when?
Yeah, because it's not like, are we supposed to imply that happens like right after like Resident Evil 2?
Because I went to look up time notes, and it says Resident Evil Extinction takes place 8 years after Resident Evil Apocalypse. In the film, this was contradicted when a character stated it has been 5 years since the outbreak. This is all Wikipedia notes and no citation. So I don't know. It's like 4 years later. It's like from the Japan outbreak, even though it's like retcons, and I can buy these secret underground bases in the outskirts of Raccoon City in the forest. But how do you secretly build a giant lab under Tokyo? It's like someone is going to notice.
Mm-hmm.
So the movie contradicts itself just a little.
It's also extremely weird, but I don't know. I've always felt like the movies did what I kind of wish the series did. I'm kind of upset that Umbrella just kind of gets hashed out due to Congress. It's always kind of a weird, like, I've never liked it. I always thought it was stupid because there is no downfall of Umbrella. We never know, like, even give an example, we never really know what happens to Wesker at any point in the series too, because I guess he just decides, which is explained in the 5th game, which is, I have different stock with a different company that's just Umbrella, but not.
Well, I guess it was, yeah, because in 5, it's because that's what's frustrating about where the series went, because the trilogy on PlayStation was about, the company experimenting with this virus, and it was realistically, well, to me anyways, it was just a message of unchecked capitalism and how they don't care about the little people. It's like, whatever, they're just profits and things on a balance sheet. But then in 5, it's suddenly the creator of Umbrella wants to become a god and live forever. And then Wesker wants to become a god and live forever. And, it gets to, like, Chris makes a comment in 5 about when did Wesker get his plot from comic books. And it's like, yeah, this is a cartoon.
And he gets angry about it.
They didn't know what to do with 5. That's why and they really didn't know what to do with 6, and they finally kind of rebooted the series in a way that, like, we need to go back to our horror roots.
Small heads up too. I'm really excited. Whenever they announced the remake for super remaster for Dead Rising, they confirmed the director for 7 is directing 9 now. So
Yeah,
really
happy too.
Really high hopes now, because I hate that they got rid of, like, with the current storyline with Ethan, because I was hoping for a trilogy, but maybe they'll bring it back. Maybe they'll actually officially end it in 9. Maybe we'll get something better, because 8's a little too actiony for my taste, just a tad, and I really like 7 a whole lot more.
I need to get through this damn series for this show.
Who, like, Mike, was it yourself or Joe who just said that, like, some of these are standalone and can be picked up?
It was me.
Okay, because can you imagine, like, if you were like, okay, we're gonna go see Resident Evil 4. It's like, do I need to see the other 3? It's like, no. And then in the opening 10 minutes, it's like, why is there 20 Mila Jovoviches?
Yes, but I feel like you can go to these movies and just not care because the movie doesn't care.
Yeah, they kill all those clones in, like, the first 5 minutes of this fucking movie. None of us really care.
Yeah.
13 minutes, sir. 13 minutes. I had the movie play in the background while we're talking.
I'm glad someone counted it, because I sure as hell didn't.
I didn't either. It's just that you had made that comment, and I looked, like, wait, the clones are still alive, but I'm at the part where he's about to self-destruct the building, and I'm like, yep. I was also thinking, when he nuked Tokyo, it's like, he just wiped out a good section of the city. That's supposed to be what happened in LA too, right? Because you see, when they go to LA, they make a comment how there's no zombies here. I'm assuming it was the same thing happened there. They nuked where the Umbrella plant was.
I think in LA, there's just so few survivors. Like, I'm pretty sure it's just everyone in the prison. So all the undead are kind of just trying to get in there. That's what's implied to me. Anyways.
Oh, okay.
Because like Chris makes a point where, like, by the end, there was more guns than people to fire them. So they just, like, let all the prisoners out.
But they locked up Chris and wouldn't let him out for some reason. Okay.
Because it's a Prison Break reference.
I have several issues with that we'll get to. But my biggest complaint is, what the fuck? How the fuck do you... Or isn't she, like they say Arcadia's in Alaska, right? It's because she finds all the planes in Alaska, and then she manages to fly from Alaska to LA.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're also implying that Claire and Kmart and 8 kids took a chopper and flew it from Las Vegas to Alaska, because it shows Claire getting out of the helicopter with Kmart and getting assaulted by Umbrella soldiers.
Yes.
You want logic, Joe, you came to the wrong movie.
Yeah, no one ever knows how fucking gasoline works in video games or movies. Fucking Days Gone has...
Oh, they know. They just didn't like that idea that, like, well, they would have to land, so they wouldn't be able to make it to Alaska, but we can't pick another. We already like this idea, so yeah. It's one of those things.
Oh, and then my favorite part of, obviously, which we do like every other movie, which is, yes, hello, Alice with powers. I will now take away your powers. I will now give you powers. Now you can't use your powers or you will be found. So in the beginning of this movie, you see little tiny T-shaped cells in Mia Jovovic's body. I'm assuming being eaten by Las Plagas.
Well, it's a cure, because he injects her with a cure, and it's like there's some type of thing where it's like it's suppressing the T cells in your system, which are literally shaped like T's.
Little T.
In case the audience doesn't understand what's happening.
It's so stupid, but funny. But so stupid.
It's great. I love it.
Funny. I mean, it's just this movie is a strange thing, and like I remembered liking it, and then I'm rewatching it. I'm like, this is kind of boring. Like the first part is fun when she's at the lab and you have all the clones. Like that's a fun action movie. I Want to Be the Matrix type opening with her just gunning down these soldiers, and it's very entertaining. It's just that when she does get to the prison, the movie's just boring, and I'm like, all these characters are going to die, and they just do one by one pretty quickly. And I'm just like, why are they even here?
It's pretty much like, I'm Claire Redfield from the games. This is the director's wife, the star of the other ones. He's Chris Redfield from the games. We're just a bunch of guys and like dead.
Yeah.
Except for one guy who comes back in 5.
Oh, Luther does come back in 5?
Yeah. Well, yeah, he survives at the end.
Yeah, I saw him survive, but I didn't know if he was in 5. I couldn't. Yeah. I was wondering if they maybe just dropped that. I don't remember 5 very well.
Good.
So I remember liking it, but that doesn't mean anything because as we have seen now, well, this is also 2010. This is 14 years ago.
Yeah, it shows too.
God, man, I am so glad we got past the 3D era.
Yeah,
shit.
I
really hated this era.
I made a note that, boy, can't you tell this was filmed after Avatar and Zack Snyder's 300?
Oh God, yes. I mean,
and the
this movie multiple times tries to show you to look at this cool stuff we can do. Look at the blades on the wall. Oh wow, they're coming towards you on the screen, guys. Ooh, and I'm like, I saw this in 3D. I'm pretty sure it was cool in 3D, but like, I don't have a 3D TV. I will never own a 3D TV. So, and this movie was hurting because of that.
Someone really back then should have really put like 2 and 2 together and been like, hey, we should really make it to where these movies are watchable in like a decade. But then again, back then all they cared about was money, so they didn't give a shit.
I mean, they always care about money. I don't think that's ever changed.
I guess.
I mean, corporations are corporations. I mean, it doesn't, this isn't made by a person that's like, hey, I want to make something good. I want to make money.
Also,
I'm sure Paul Anderson wanted to make something good. Well, more it's like, I just want to put my wife in a movie. But
I think all movies should have a common knowledge and then risk factor like mediator in these movies as well. Because I don't think it was a good idea to have another white man nuking Japan for a 3rd time. Because I feel like that has not aged well.
That is a fair thing.
Yeah, because we were watching the movie and my husband goes, did they just fucking nuke Japan a 3rd time? And I'm like, ooh, they did nuke Japan a 3rd time in this movie.
I mean, at least in this version of Japan, everybody's already dead anyway, just about, so.
And they don't die from nuclear radiation. I say it's a nuke, but it's some kind of weird light bomb.
Fusion or something.
Fusion reactor core.
I mean, it's a cool concept. Like, I like it, and it does pay off because it comes back later in this movie. So it isn't like it, and you have a cool moment at the very end with a good joke. Unnecessary, but a good joke.
And then there's a really weird transition over where Alice is looking for the survivors that she sent to Arcadia. And I guess I would be a little freaked out too if they're like, because she shows up and there's tons of just like empty ass fucking planes.
I do like that idea that all these people were coming there and then they were being abducted. Like, it is a cool concept, even if it doesn't go a lot of places.
And sure, as far as it doesn't go a lot of places. Even weirder is, as I said earlier, you can tell this was made after 5 because it's like, oh look, here's Claire. Look, it's the bug that's on Jill's chest from RE5.
Oh God, it's ridiculous how this movie is like, hey, Resident Evil 5 just came out recently because, I mean, the zombies have the mouths that open up like an RE5. You have the Executioner for 0 reason in this. Like, you have so many things that are like, Resident Evil 5 just came out and we're trying to capitalize on that. I mean, I'd rather just have regular zombies in the city because they should just be regular zombies. Like, why are you doing this?
I think they used the throwaway line later, which I think is implied from later on. But I'll say it now. There's a part where Wesker says it's a virus. It took a lot for the virus to bring him back to life. I guess what it's supposed to be implying is that the virus is now keeping zombies alive, and that's why it's mutated into why it's the virus from 5. Then again, I don't fucking know why. They never really explain it. That's just my theory.
I'm just going to operate under the assumption that the zombies in LA are the ones banging on the prison walls are the regular population, and the ones that are digging and kind of grabbing people are, I guess, ones that are experimented on by Umbrella on the boat as a means to extract people from the shore and bring them back. But that's just filling a lot of blanks on my own.
I mean, that does sound like a good idea, and that sounds like that would make sense, and now I'm upset that they couldn't even bother to put in one little line or scene where that was included. That would make sense. I mean, why all of a sudden... Because at this point, I mean, the apocalypse has been going on for years, like, and all of a sudden now they dig a hole into there? Like, that would make more sense. That also would make this movie better. I wonder if that was original idea, and someone's like, no, we don't got time for that. We got to make this movie short. Come on, we got to get more runtimes in here. Money.
How long is this movie too, by the way?
Like an hour 40.
No, hour 36 when the final credits show. So yeah, this movie's under an hour 30.
And is that after the mid-credits scene?
Hour 31 is when you're done with the mid-credit scene. So yeah, This movie is not long.
This movie doesn't feel long either. I'll give it that too.
It felt long to me because I just kept getting distracted for reasons. When I was trying to watch this and I just didn't get around to it. It took me a bit to watch it, but no, this movie's short.
Are you playing Snap, goddammit?
No, I was doing things that I did not want to comment on. So
okay.
No, I was busy. But one, I was eating lunch and I had to go walk a dog, and then I was busy doing something else while I was trying to watch this movie, and I'm like, so I just didn't get. It was behind schedule. I've been busy as fuck.
Yeah, same.
I've been doing too much. That goes along with my life, though. But no, I mean, the movie does go by quick. I mean, it wasn't. I would have much rather seen this in theaters again. I mean, I'm never going to because it's never going to come back, nor would I pay to see it again. But, you know, it's one of those things where it would have been better had I been in a theater situation because I could have really just enjoyed it then more and not been busy.
So we talk about how this movie does have really weird, ridiculous points. I think my least favorite part of this movie is like they land the plane and she's with Claire and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And the survivors are like, you're here to rescue us, right? And even fucking Alice is like, yeah, I'm here to rescue you guys on a 2-person fucking plane. Like, yeah, that's entirely what I'm here to do.
I mean, also, she crashed a plane. Do you really think she's going to be able to go back and forth? I mean...
Well,
yeah.
They mention to her, because they talk about, are you from Arcadia? And she mentions, like, oh, I went to Arcadia. There was nothing there. But then she didn't realize that it's a boat. Because she thought it was a place, because the file that she found in the start menu in Resident Evil 3 said something about Arcadia, go here, no infection.
Okay, so I will continue to say people in this movie are not smart.
Obviously.
I'm going to continue saying that throughout this movie, because there's 3 points that I made that make sense, and it doesn't make any sense. So Alice is on the beach, and she finds Claire. And she knows Claire went to Arcadia. So your reasoning should be, hey, maybe we shouldn't go to Arcadia because Claire has this stupid virus bug on her chest. And they never think of that until the moment they see the Umbrella logo and go, oh, shit.
I think they knew something was up at that point, right? Isn't that why they go to the boat? I mean, they can't think the boat is safety.
They think the boat's safety.
Isn't that stupid?
Yes, that's stupid.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, no,
they couldn't stay in the prison. They had to go somewhere because the prison was overloaded with undead and everyone was dying. So it's like, well, we can stay here, go in the LA streets, or go to this boat and find out what's happening.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, it's more like you can't go home, but you can't stay here.
Yeah.
It's closing time. So, yeah. I mean, that's what I was thinking of. I mean, I didn't think that they were going there for safety, though. I thought they knew something was up because, at the same time, they don't really know what happened to Claire. They just know, hey, she ended up on a beach and we found her and she's got this thing on her chest and she's not okay. Like, they don't know what the fuck's going on. So there's that too.
And she has a convenient case of movie memory loss.
Yeah, it's not that bad. I mean, because I kind of like it. When Chris sees her and he's like, sister, and she just wants to kill him. Like, I'm like, this is.
So I also have an issue with that because I paid very specific dialogue to that scene, and it's also a clue that these characters are fucking stupid himbos and bimbos. Because himbos is not a general term. Chris does say, "Hey, Claire," and no one has said Claire's name yet, and no one thinks, "Oh, that's not that weird that he knows Claire's name." But I get the whole point. It's like, well, Claire's on the fence because she doesn't know who he is and she doesn't have any memory. But all he has to do is Your name is Claire Redfield. My name is Chris Redfield. We are siblings. And he never mentions their last name. Or he never goes, I'm Chris Redfield. You're Claire Redfield, my sister. And that would have probably been because she knows her last name and Alice knows her name. Because when she rips the bug off, she's like, I don't have any memory of who I am. And Alice goes, you are Claire Redfield. You are my friend.
Yeah, I got nothing.
And this is a perfect waste of a good Wentworth Miller and Chris Redfield, because I think he looks the part and he's a great actor. Like, oh man, him as Captain Cold on The Flash is just chef's kiss. Oh,
he's great as him.
So great. And it's like they have to. This is the fourth one, and Chris has never been there, so they have to quickly catch the audience's speed and just be like, "You're my sister." We're in the game, in 2. It's the quest for Claire to be there as the hunt for her brother. And she never mentions that she had a brother in 3 at all. And I made a note, and I guess this is going way to the end.
We'll get there. We'll get
where
there.
the person in the post-credit scene says, all of these people are known fugitives from Umbrella. But Chris Redfield was just an army guy. He has no history with the Umbrella Corporation and the struggles. Like, Alice is a fugitive, Kmart is a fugitive, Claire, because they all had the fight in Nevada. But all Chris said was, I was with the army, we were fighting people here, and then my platoon got cut off, and then these bozos locked me up here.
I really hate that they locked him up, but I hate the reasoning for it was his eyes. He's got eyes of a killer. Like, well, yeah maybe you might want that now,
Well, it's the reason why they keep him locked up, and which is even stupider. And they're like, hey, why are you locked up? And he's like, and that's the thing too, is they're like, well, he's not part of the guards, but he's also not a prison on the prison log. It's like, okay, cool, then let him out. Yeah, but they're like, there's got to be a reason he's locked up, though. And he tells you, he's like, yeah, they thought I was a guard, so all the fucking prisoners locked me up.
Oh, that's a line in this movie?
Yeah, it's his info dump when he meets Alice because no one wants to fucking listen to him.
Okay, I didn't catch that. I must not be paying enough attention. But that would make, then that's just even dumber. Like, just let the fucker out. Like, who cares? Like, so people locked him up. Like, you have freaking the undead walking outside. Like, does it matter anymore?
We're in the zombie apocalypse. What's he gonna do? Leave? Kill all of us?
Kill all of us, yes. But, you also need the amount, whatever manpower you have, like, in general. Like, you don't have, you need whatever humans are with you to help you survive. I don't know. I really hate the team of people that they have in this movie, too, like, on the prison. And that's where the movie, I was into the movie for the first half an hour, because it's 31 minutes in when you get to the prison, and it just, I don't know. The prison is kind of boring. I don't care for it. I don't like everything with it. It's cool that Chris is in here. It's stupid he's in a cell. It's stupid that they're not paying. They're having some guy just sit down there all the time, just like, oh, and this year, like, you have moments like, I hate being down here. And then there's another scene later on, you see him sitting there again. They're like, well, yeah, they really don't like you.
He's also reading a porn mag.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
I caught that.
They show that he's a piece of they show that he's a leech when he's trying to, watch her strip in the shower. So, which then leads to his death, which is kind of amusing. But
so there's two things I want to talk about, because we've tiptoed around a little bit, but I'm going to bitch about it here very specifically. But one of them I'm also going to bitch about because my husband brings this up every time we watch this movie. So you're telling me these things dig through the ground. Whenever that guy gets eaten and Alice kills, like, I guess both the zombies, there's a fucking massive hole in the ground. And it's like, when did y'all miss that? Because it implies the zombies were hiding out there for like a solid second. You're telling me you didn't see this big fucking hole in the ground?
They just made the hole, right?
I guess.
But also, like, when I first saw this coming, because they do a good job of, like, showing that it's happening, that they show, you hear, I hear things in the walls, you have a scene where you see a zombie, like, underground, but then, like, 2 or 3 come out, and that's it. Like, zombies don't work that way in any type of fiction. Like, they're a horde. Like, that's the point of zombies. Like, and then, again, it would fit Blair's point. Like, we should have a scene that these are special, in quotation, zombies from Arcadia that are trained, that are actually intelligent. Because it would make more sense.
Or just like program bioweapons for retrieval. Like, it's not. But that means that Wesker would have to get up from his last boss chair. Like, he's sitting there when he's introduced again. Because spoilers, he's alive. Because him and Alice both blow up in a helicopter.
But somehow she survives?
And she survived even though that she got Samus Aran and lost all of her powers, but Wesker now has regenerative powers and she's shocked that he's still around.
It's stupid. Like, you take away her powers, but why couldn't you just have her powers go away from the crash? Like, something like that. I don't know. It's...
Go full on Metroid.
I got hit in the head.
Yes, but I would have been more okay with, like, because you take away her powers, well, she should be dead then, because a person wouldn't survive that.
Okay, so here's my funny thing. Talk about things needing to be explained. So I love how you have these scenes, and then it's brought up, and you're given what's essentially a video game timer. Because even though the monsters coming up from the ground isn't, even though that's also a huge problem because now your safe area is no longer safe. You have this big thing where if they could give it a voice, it would just go, "Hey, did you like Silent Hill? Look, I'm from the game." And it's like I'm sitting there in like on the couch. Every time I watch this movie, I'm like, why the fuck is the executioner in this movie? That means someone had to dress up a like 7-foot tall man as like this big thing and put spikes into him and put spike into his body and make this big axe for him to run around with. And it makes sense video game wise because in 5 it explains that they're all going fucking crazy from the virus. So it makes sense that he exists. But here it's like, oh no, some random asshole is just dressed up like this running around.
So
it fits Blair's comment.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You watch interviews with Paul W.S. Anderson for like all of these and even Monster Hunter. And I don't want to like put him in the dirt because he did the foreword of a book that's really great called Lights, Camera, Game Over. And he seems like a very genuine human being. But then he's talking very, oh, I went to Japan and I sat down with the people who make the games and we had these discussions about how we both love the games and, oh, we wanted to bring in this thing from the games and the fans are going to love seeing this thing from the games. But it doesn't have any context. It doesn't mean anything. And we're going to get there at the end. Oh boy, because I'm going to unload on that. And then they'll have behind the scenes interviews. Oh, the fans are going to love this. But like, you have to make this for people who don't understand what any of this is for. That's how you get more people than just a core audience. But again, this is like Sony's Screen Gems, whatever. We're not going to screen it for critics. We'll make it for $30-40 million, make 150 of the worldwide box office and wash our hands of it.
I mean, they kept making these, so it must have made some profit.
Well, they made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, I think 6 made $1 billion or something, and that was just overseas.
Wow. Yeah. Budget was $60 million, box office $300 million. That's not bad.
This is the weird thing where I probably believe it too, especially because people love foreign money. We've learned recently that it's gotten worse, but that like movie producers love foreign movies. I 100% believe. I think like even though I believe Resident Evil is popular here, I believe it's super popular in Japan. So people, probably what the difference between us and them is it was really popular in Japan because people probably actually play those games and everyone in the audience probably knows everything, as opposed to here where people try to watch these movies, don't know what the fuck's going on. So I guess that makes sense.
I mean, the game series is big too here.
I guess.
Yeah. Correction on 6, it's $40 million, but made $312 million.
Wow.
So that's a nice chunk of change. But it only made $26.8 million in US and Canada. So yeah, it is mostly foreign money, probably like mainland China. I think that's around the time when like the Chinese box office is most important. But the thing about these movies is that for a lot of people, like Resident Evil is just these movies to them. Like they love Mila Jovovich and the Alice character. Like I had a costume umbrella ring that I used to wear all the time, and people recognize it from the movies. Like they had never played a game, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I love those movies so much." And I'm just like, well, you like part of this series, so that's cool. I'm not going to be one of these people who says, well, you should play the games, not watching those crappy movies. I mean, I'm going to see them too. I have my ticket stubs.
I mean, I'm always glad when movies or anything can open up people to a franchise, because I'm sure there are people out there who played these games because of these movies. I mean, I'm sure it's a small amount, but I'm sure some have. So plus, I have no problem with things existing.
But now we're in the era of like Amazon's Fallout series comes out, and I've never played more than 10 minutes of a Fallout game. And I understand this world, its characters, the iconography, just from watching the show. And people who play the games are going to get a lot of a lot more out of it. And maybe it's going to inspire. Well, the numbers have already proven that like once Fallout aired, there was a big uptick in Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 players. Like, and probably with The Last of Us 2 and 1.
Yeah, there's this really cute little Reddit article that I saw where it's like, I guess some old couple, like they're like in their like 60s or 70s, where they're like, hey, this sounds really weird, but can someone come over and like teach us how to play a PlayStation? Me and my wife really like The Last of Us. And I guess the guy went out and bought a PS5 with The Last of Us. And he's like, I tried playing the demo and it's kind of hard. Can someone like come over here and kind of teach me how to play video games? And it's like just this whole wholesome thing where a person actually went over there and bonded with like this cute little old couple and taught them how to play video games and stuff like that.
That's kind of cool. I need to play Last of Us again someday.
Which one?
I never the first one.
The remake of the first one.
Which one of the first one?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's gonna have to be the remake of the first one because that one's got a bunch of quality of life features.
I think it would be so funny if they finally add PS3 non-streaming cloud emulation to the PlayStation 5, and the first game on the service is the PS3 version of The Last of Us. I would laugh so hard.
Well, another thing I found stupid about this movie, like in the prison scene, you have the girl Crystal who's introduced to you for 0 reasons. So she's in this movie for a little bit, and there's one part where they're like, we gotta swim and we gotta go underwater, and I want to be like, do you even know that the other part is not underwater? Because you guys are all fucking dead if it's not. And she's like, I'm an Olympic swimmer. And she goes, she makes it. And then the moment after they get out of the water, she's killed. And I'm just like, this is so stupid.
It's a good thing that room was open too. Imagine if it was fucking locked.
They're all dead because Alice can't hold off that many. She's not superhuman anymore.
What's crazy about that too is that they swim down there and get the guns. And it's not like there's a video game like Switch where they pull the lever and the water drains out. They go up through the vents. I was like, motherfuckers, why'd you go down through the vent in the first place?
Yes,
then we couldn't have made Crystal useful in this movie. Because she served no other purpose than earlier. She can cook pretty good. So, like they had to do something.
She's there to get killed, and she's there to be eye candy.
Yes.
That's what.
That's very much a horror movie theme, isn't it? Just to have characters just there just to get killed.
Yeah.
Okay, I have watched a lot more horror movies than I ever meant to in my life because of...
You're starting to see the tropes.
Well, yeah, I mean, one, I have a type because Tiff and the woman I dated before both love horror movies, so apparently I am attracted to something. So I watch a lot more than I ever meant to in my life. And now this podcast, I watch a lot more and actually care about them. I blame Ken and Bill for that.
Oh, but we skipped the important part where the guy that's introduced as a scumbag does a scumbag thing and steals a plane that he's never flown.
Oh,
and
that was
get away.
Dumb. Where he's like, and he's gonna take his assistant with him, and he's like, "I'm a producer," and I'm like, "You think that?" My other issue with that is I could get that in an early zombie apocalypse where it's been like a couple months and people think things are gonna go back to normal. It's been like how many years since this thing happened at this point?
I think Blair said 8.
8 or 9.
There's no part of you that's gonna be still like that at this point. If you'd survived this long, you have completely moved on from that because it's so far removed. And this movie is like the zombie apocalypse just happened. There's just
so about that thing because essentially like the setup is that like they let Chris Redfield out because he said like what else? What have we got to lose? And he mentioned there's a giant tank that we can use to get to the where the ship is, and it has weapons and it can just steamroll through them. But the movie's budget probably didn't have it, so the engine's out of it, so they can't use it. So they have one of the guys, I can't remember his name, Mikey? No, I think that's from 3. Anyway, it's not important. Cannon fodder number 5.
Angel.
Is talking to the Angel, thank you. Is talking to the movie producer and his assistant, and he's like, I know what we have to do. And then he shoots him. And then they go to the top and get the plane. Like, why did they need to kill him? They could have just went up and got the plane. It's not like he was standing between them and the plane as a guard. They could have just went upstairs and got it. Like, who cares? Why did they have to get rid of this guy other than the movie doesn't need him anymore? And I probably thinking that tank was supposed to be part of the budget, but then they ran out of money.
I believe
That would make sense, because that would have been a cool scene, too, to have that tank.
Yeah.
I was a little bummed that it wasn't there, actually, because like they talk about it, and then my other complaint was, you've been in this prison for, we don't know how long, we can assume it's been a while, and you didn't try to pick a lock on a garage. Like, there were a lot of things like that where I was questioning it. I'm like, you would have for sure done this.
I know they have showers and food, but like they must also have a lot of great shampoo because Crystal's hair is immaculate.
But like, you would have, I mean, if you were trapped in a place, over time, you would have opened every single door and went everywhere you could. Like, not getting into the armory if it's flooded makes sense, but it doesn't make sense that you didn't open a garage door. Because you would have. You're trapped in a place, you're going to open up everything eventually, because what else are you going to do?
Does it say how long they've been there? Because
it says
from what I'm
about when the apocalypse happened.
So, okay, so according to the timeline, which I'm trying to understand, so between 2 and 5, it was 5 years, maybe, or it could also be 8. And then it was a year for Alice to perfect her clone army and get them all the way over from Nevada to Japan. And then another 6 months between when she crashes and when she gets to where the movie is now. So that's 9 years and 9.5 years. And like you said, they've been there that long. And they haven't like, oh, let's see what's in here.
Fuck me, that's a good point. I never thought of fucking that. God damn it.
Yeah, they've been there a while. Like, it's just, this movie feels like ideas must have been there, and someone's like, we don't got time for that.
Yeah, you're telling me that they've been locked up, that Chris's sexy ass has been locked up in that prison cell for 9 fucking years, and they're just now deciding to let him out?
Yeah, it again, this, like what Blair said, which I didn't, earlier in this episode, I didn't think about, this movie does kind of feel like a reboot, in a sense. Is like, the apocalypse just happened, guys. Like, this is a story that would have been at the beginning of apocalypse, not 9 years, 8 years into an apocalypse. That's one of the big issues with this movie. It doesn't fit the timeline of
like
what
they want the audience to forget that this place is, this whole franchise is supposed to take in a wasteland, because I believe the directors, like Milovich's brother, had never seen Mad Max. So instead of showing him Mad Max, he said, oh, I'm going to write a Mad Max Resident Evil movie because that's what I want to do. Don't quote me on that. I think it was one behind the scenes features. And now your world is permanently set in this, and then you set up a reason to have it fixed, and then you just assume that everything is okay and there's glaciers and trees and beaches and forests, when it showed the world that there's no oceans. Like, I know Umbrella has super science powered by Sony Vaio laptops and Sony Ericsson phones and Sony video cameras, but not like Cybertronian terraforming equipment.
Yeah, it's just too much. And I feel like those are the things that hurt this film. Because overall, the film is entertaining for the most part. Like, it has its fun moments. I mean, it does get boring in that prison, but it has some fun moments. It just, you can't look for logic, and which sucks, because, again, these movies really don't feel like they fit together anymore. And I get it. Maybe they thought they were going to end at 3, and they just kept people kept wanting more. Because 3 could have been an ending. You could have wrapped up with 3. I mean, not the way the movie goes, but like, you could have put an ending in there originally.
I applaud their commitment to following up on the threads, because 2 was like, okay, all right, at 1, it's a setup for Nemesis. Then 2, it's a setup for her being possibly controlled by Umbrella. Then 3, it's like the clone army. And this one, you have the giants. Well, what happens at the end? But then in 6, they set up this awesome thing. And then they're just like, oh, yeah, it already happened off screen.
Oh,
wait,
yeah.
you don't get that giant like battle that you see coming at the end of 5?
No.
What the fuck?
And it's even funnier because it's light spoilers, but I'll say it. It literally goes, Alice goes, hey, we lost that fight and everyone's dead. So like every single Resident Evil character that's ever existed is no longer alive anymore.
I hate this franchise.
Except for Blair? Oh, right,
No,
she wasn't in 5.
Everyone's dead. Actually, to be fair, they explain they do that every movie, because in the next movie they also explain with the big fight that they tease at the end of this that everyone dies from that fight.
Wait, isn't Chris in the next movie in Claire?
Nope. The two Resident Evil characters that I will say are in the next movie, or three actually, because I keep
I know
forgetting their-
Barry.
There's
Ada.
a guy cosplaying as Leon, a guy cosplaying as Ada, and
the guy cosplaying
I
as Barry.
can't remember the actor's name. Kevin Durant as Barry, and he's awesome because he's excellent in everything.
Yeah, I love Barry in that movie. So, but it's so weird because it's like Resident Evil 1 Barry, and he's like, is he wearing the STARS uniform?
Yeah. Don't watch this movie. Go see Abigail with him in it because he is great.
What the fuck is Abigail?
Don't read anything about it. Try
Okay.
not to look at the thumbnail. Just go
Okay.
rent it and then come back to me after.
Okay, is it a horror movie?
Horror comedy.
You son of a bitch, I'm in.
Don't try. Get someone to order it for you so you don't even see a thumbnail and go in completely blind and then come back and report to your.
I will tell y'all that. I need to watch a movie today anyway, so I'll tell y'all about that later.
I don't know. I guess that erasing all the characters fits to go with what they were going for. I just don't like it.
So
I mean, horror movies are like that, though. I mean, like, you have all the, Nightmare on Elm Street, you have Jason movies, like, none of them don't really, they're just more, I think that's kind of what Resident Evil becomes. Not what I want, but you can't really make 6 installments and all have them connect really well, unless you have very good creative geniuses behind things at the top that aren't going to make you do dumb shit.
It's the problem with with the Resident Evil franchise and how it translates to a film. Because, just look at, say, I'll say a comic book movie, any of them. So, Tobey Maguire gets cast as Spider-Man. Like, okay, you're going to be Spider-Man. If Spider-Man's successful, you're going to be in Spider-Man 2, you're going to be in Spider-Man 3, etc., etc. You cast someone as Jill Valentine in Resident Evil, and you're like, oh, this is successful. Like, I'm going to be back in the second one. Like, no, Jill isn't in the second one. It's you don't have a franchise. Like this franchise needs a hook, and that's Mila Jovovich for better or worse. Like it would be a weird thing to be like, okay, 2 is going to be on. Like how confusing is that to a normal audience? Being like, wait, what about these people from the first one? Why are they gone? Why is it 2? But there's different people, and people who play the games know. But how do you explain that to like a general audience? As they're used to. Well, these characters are coming back, or whatever.
I think that's fair.
I mean, we do have one reoccurring character, even though he's played by different actors. Wesker usually comes back, I think, after the 3rd movie? Because he sees at the end of 3, he's in this one, and then he's in the other
5?
2. He's in 5 and 6.
He's in 4, 5, and 6. In 3, he's played by Jason O'Mara, who people might know as the voice of Batman in a lot of the most recent animated Batman movies.
Oh.
Like the Batman and Son era, the Batman versus Robin era.
Oh. Yeah, we covered those on the show.
And in this one, he's in 4, 5, and 6, he's played by a guy named Sean Roberts. I think he's Canadian because he was a villain of the week in a show filmed in the place where I lived, where he plays like a corrupt campus security guard who's the villain of the week on a show called Hudson and Rex.
Oh, they typecast him, huh?
That's kind of funny.
So there's one big, before we get to the big, because me and Blair are going to go back and forth on that, because I know exactly where Blair's going. There's a really good moment in this movie that's probably my favorite and just kind of proof that movies should do something differently. Am I the only one that likes that Alice has a shotgun full of quarters and it's like the funniest fucking thing ever?
Oh,
I like it.
I have no problem with that.
I think it's great. And then
I think it makes sense, too.
they use it to like they show it that when she uses it to shoot zombies, and then they use it to fight the big executioner. And like, by the way, this shout out to Chelsea. Whenever the executioner falls, he just has these massive cheeks, 10 out of 10 cheeks, 10 out of 10 tyrant cheeks.
I didn't know if she. Now I feel bad. I didn't ask her, but I don't think she would want to talk about these.
In the because they fight the executioner. It eventually becomes like a straight up brawl between Claire, Alice, and the executioner, and it's in slow motion and it's raining. Shout out to Claire. Superhero landing. Yeah.
And hair flip.
I mean, hey, I remember that moment being super cool in theaters with 3D glasses on. So it wasn't that cool on my TV now, but it was cool in 2010 in the theater in 3D. I remember liking it.
To be fair, also, I'll also give them that, and I think it is really stupid. Their plan is to go down these fucking like diggy holes from the fucking zombies, and they literally go, "Oh, it smells like shit down there," and they're like, "Maybe it's connected to the sewer pipes." Worst case scenario, and I know they didn't have any other choice, but worst case scenario, you go down there and the sewer's flooded with zombies.
Yeah, but it's closing time and you can't stay here, so we gotta go somewhere.
Yeah. Also, that Asian guy gets sliced in half. That happens too.
They kill off everybody too quickly for like no reason in this, but I guess that's a horror movie thing. So these are horror movies
for the kills. That's what they want. They want as violent and juicy, as gory as possible.
It's okay. I can't wait till we get to 6 for my all-time favorite horror movie kill.
I guess sometimes I know these are horror movies, but they don't feel like it. But this feels like a slasher film at times.
It's I believe it's like sci-fi action is what I would probably clarify it as or something.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't really been a horror movie since the first one.
A second one, maybe.
I have a second one.
Maybe he has read it. It's just the first one. First one's a horror movie. I will always say that, and I will die on that hill. That one is a horror movie. Then they get weird, and then they get dumb.
Well, they've always been dumb. The first one was just less dumb than the ones that would come after it.
Yes. They get dumber and dumber as time goes on. I mean, that is a fair statement. This one gets pretty dumb. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like you were talking about earlier, the army where they just go through the vent. I'm like, oh, that's stupid. And then going through the tunnels, it's like, yes, but again, it's missing the one part where what Blair said makes sense. Where someone's like, yes, they were sent here. That's why there's not a giant hole full of zombies, because they were the tracker ones that made the hole that were sent from Arcadia, which didn't happen because the movie didn't do that. The Arcadia boat thing is kind of cool. I mean, I like the idea that it's a giant ship that's moving around that's collecting survivors. Like, you would kind of have to live somewhere else, but at the same point, isn't Alaska barren enough that you could probably have an outpost in Alaska and be okay?
Well, let's talk about this boat. Can we get to the boat?
Sure, we're pretty much there. I mean, yeah, they go to the front, they get on the boat. All right.
So the Umbrella Corporation is going up and down the coast looking for survivors, and Claire says to experiment on. But experiment on what? What are they trying? At least in 3, they have a point where like our supplies are running out. We're all going to die if we don't do something. And then Dr. Isaacs is doing the domestication. It's like, well, we can make this, then we can make zombies be a docile workforce who can do this.
That makes sense.
I have an answer for you, Blair. You're going to hate it.
Go for it.
They need more clone DNA. They need more DNA to make more clones. Because that's the plot for the next movie. They need more human DNA to make more clones.
Yes, but when you see the boat, only one person is like, there's only one bloody bag, and everyone else is still alive.
But they have the DNA of Carlos, Juan, and Rain, and they just make an endless supply of those dummies.
Yeah, they need more DNA. They have to figure out how to do something, which honestly, I don't know why they're still running experiments in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. But we're not worried about that movie right now.
Again, 9 years in, you wouldn't be. 2 years in, when you think it's going to end, you would be. Not this far in. Again, this movie doesn't know what the fuck it's doing.
This is the movie where you have her go beat the Umbrella Corporation and find out that, like, oh, there's someone, even if she went there and everyone was dead, and it's like, oh no, who's worse than these people? And then you find out there's like a new threat. So they have a bunch of people in pods. Kmart is one of them. Like, poor that actress who just comes back as in a pod.
Oh, I have a really big issue with that part. They put her name as Kmart in the thing. Like, they went and asked her, "What's your name, madam?" before we shove you in this tube to put you to sleep. Okay, we want to make sure we get your name right in the top style. Not
okay. So I have a point to add on to that makes it even worse. Because all these people are in these pods that are in the ground and then come up, and I guess Wesker is eating them because he thinks he needs to consume fresh DNA, because ever since he came back, the T-virus is trying to take over. So when they Chris and Claire end up in these pods and they go down the grounds, and then they have to recall them with the iPad. And when they recall them with the iPad, their names, weight, and age are automatically recorded. Like it says on the tablet, Chris Redfield, Claire Redfield, age whatever, weight whatever. So that girl doesn't have a name other than Kmart.
That's fucking funny. No, it's simple. When you get sucked down the top into the tube, a little fucking thing comes up going, "Hello, welcome to Umbrella Tube. May I ask your name? We're going to scan you and get your weight and everything." And it probably plays like Bluey videos while you're unconscious.
It like pings the databases. They're down there for a few minutes.
Like, I mean, I can get it with like it just should be subject number. Like, why are you giving like I don't know, it just bothered me. The weight and the height, everything like that makes perfect sense. Age makes sense. You can figure that out. Like, I'm fine with that. But like name, like
So here's my big issue, which I thought Blair was going to talk about. Is that your big issue with that Blair?
No, the big issue is that eventually they get down there and they find out the Umbrella Corporation's behind everything. Surprise, surprise. And Wesker is sitting in a completely blank white room in a chair like Dracula in a Castlevania game, waiting for a Belmont to come in and start whipping his head. So they do a recreation of a cutscene from Resident Evil 5. That's completely ridiculous. If you don't know, if you've never played Resident Evil 5, I put it in our chat. But anybody watch it who watches this movie.
I'm singing the song while Blair's just describing the scene. So
go watch Red Letter Media Resident Evil Apocalypse ending, because Rich Evans just loses his mind laughing. So in Resident Evil 5, this scene is between Chris, Jill, and Wesker, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I played 5.
Yeah. Oh, yes. It's between Chris, Jill, Sheva, and Wesker. Yes.
Okay, so yeah, because I couldn't remember if it was in the flashback or if it was that.
Oh,
so
I think it's both.
Yeah. So either way, Chris Redfield in the games has a decade-long vendetta against Albert Wesker. Jill Valentine has a decades-long vendetta against Albert Wesker. Here, it's Wesker, Claire, and Chris. Claire and Chris barely have any screen time, and Wesker, Claire, and Chris have never met in person.
What?
So this whole fight has no weight behind it whatsoever, other than here's some Matrix stuff and jingling the keys in front of people's face who have played Resident Evil 5.
Well, yeah, and with that, it may be Code Veronica too, because it goes even deeper than that. Because technically, if you go by Resident Evil lore, because even Wesker goes, Chris and Claire Redfield, so we meet again for the last time. But like when you line up the clues, it's like, wait, in Resident Evil, what's the second one? Afterlife? Apocalypse. In Resident Evil Apocalypse, they established that STARS is more of like a SWAT team than like a special tactics team in the game, and that there's like 30 of them, but it doesn't make sense linear wise, because then that means Chris was never part of STARS. He's just part of the military. So in a weird sense, him and Wesker would have never met at all in this timeline. So it makes sense for him to be like, I hate both of you so fucking much. And it's like, why? You've never established you have any prior like relationship to them.
Don't pay attention. Jingle the keys. Look at the jingle the keys.
like at most you could fix that with like 2 lines of dialogue where you could maybe make it to where it's like, oh, Chris's fucking military team was anti-Umbrella, and when they meet, you just have to fucking before Wesker can say anything, you have Chris go Wesker, and then you go, oh, okay, so they do know each other. But like whenever Wesker says that, Chris looks as confused as Claire does when they see him.
Again, it feels like this movie had other scenes that were supposed to be in the script originally that got cut out for budget or time. Like what Blair mentioned, the cool tank thing that we don't get.
The tank was cut out for budget and time. I feel the rest of it was just, wouldn't it be cool if?
Oh, unfortunately, you're probably right. I'm trying to give this movie the benefit of the doubt that it was like something like, where too many cooks in the kitchen, but I think it's just stupidity, or we don't give a shit. It's a horror movie. Nobody cares.
Written, directed, produced by Paul W.S. Anderson and starring his wife. There's like 2 cooks in this particular kitchen.
Okay, so it's really just, I don't give a shit. This is a horror movie. Just enjoy the tropes.
Yeah.
And this movie is enjoy 3D.
Yeah, I get to play around with a 3D camera and make a movie with my wife, and it's going to make a lot of money, and then I'll get to make another movie or another one of these.
Yeah, that's fair. Because, $30 million is not a big budget. No, this is $60 million, but that's not a big budget.
That's what Kevin Smith has gone on record saying, like, it doesn't matter if your movie is like a critically acclaimed whatever, like you get under budget and you make money, and then you'll get another movie. And like Paul W.S. Anderson, this is the second one he did, because he didn't do 2 or 3, because he did Alien versus Predator, which made money.
Terrible movie.
It made money. Well, not as bad as the second one. And then he did Death Race with Jason Statham. I don't know how one that did. We're doing it live.
He kept getting movies, though, so...
And then he got Pompeii after this, which... No, he did The Three Musketeers, which also starred his wife. So, yeah. Budget for Death Race, 65 million, made 76 million at box office, probably did a bunch more in DVD rentals. So...
Yeah. I rented this movie, actually, too.
I did.
I owned it, but I wanted
Three
it.
Musketeers movie made twice its production budget. Oh my god, I've never even seen that before.
I didn't know it existed.
I should watch that.
But it's the end of this movie when they really go into the 3D. Like, you have one scene with the dogs where they come apart, which feels like a reference to Resident Evil 4 or 5. I can't remember if they do that in 5 too, where she kicks the glass. There are so many scenes in this movie, especially near the end of the movie, where it's like, we got 3D, look what we can do, where things are just coming at you. And I swear it must have been cool as hell when I saw it in theater, because I had a good memory of this boring movie.
Yeah, and she has beautiful Joe powers if she can slow down time to recognize when to kick that shard of glass and do that zombie dog.
Henshin a go-go, baby. That's what happened. We just missed that scene. They cut it out. I need to replay that game, by the way, for the show one day with save state so I can actually finish it.
To be fair as well, I do think it's funnier that there's a whole scene. Also, fuck that one guy. We haven't really brought it up, but the other guy's there. That's from like the plane. He's infected for some reason. It doesn't really go anywhere because Wesker eats him at the end of the day. But he like stabs Mia Jovovich in the arm with the knife like an asshole for no reason. And then Mia Jovovich just rips it out and stabs Wesker in the fucking head, and that kills him the first time. And then they blow his brains out with the shotgun a second time.
And Chris and Claire pump him full of bullets too.
You know, for revenge for whatever he did to them.
It's for revenge in the video game canon. It's a different time. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
I mean, if this... Oh, I brought up a bad memory. If... Because it's spoilers. Blair knows what I'm talking about. If this had officially killed him, it would be it would have been a better death than what we got in the video game. Because I still think, we talk about how Capcom flubbed the fish with fucking killing off Umbrella. They really flubbed the fish killing off Wesker with a fucking rocket launcher and a fucking volcano.
Yeah, I didn't care for it. Like, I love Albert Wesker. I just don't like where that character went in 5. I don't need him to have superpowers. Well, not to that extent. I just like him being the puppeteer, just like working an angle. Like, I think that's fascinating. But then, like, another ridiculous thing, because, in the first, they find out in all these Umbrella labs, where they have very few of them, very few people. We'll get there. It's like, we're running out of resources in the last one. Like, we only have so many people here, food supplies down to here. We're going to go dark pretty soon unless we fix the Earth. And, like, Wesker just, like, blows up a whole base with, like, nukes Tokyo. And the boat has the same nuke. And he activates it thinking, I'm going to kill them the same way I did the last time. But then it finds out that Milovich has stashed the bomb on his plane. But when they go down there, there's like 10 planes. So how did she know which one he was going to get in?
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch Albert by his toe. Which plane will he fly today? Put the bomb in that plane. I don't know. I got nothing.
I don't know. He probably would have taken the first one. I will, as much as I hate to admit it, he is pretty predictable because she'd know he'd blow up the plane with the nuke.
Yeah.
So like, yeah.
But
also, why is the nuke just on the dock where the helicopter is? Because you see the little empty station of where the nuke is. Like, shouldn't that be like inside the ship, hidden, not somewhere you can just detach it?
No, it's in case you need a nuke for something else besides blowing up the ship.
Yes, we're just like, we get your nukes here, get your nukes here. We got nukes for all your occasions. Like,
isn't that what Americans like?
We like our guns, sir, not our nukes. We like our guns.
I'll get to how much we like our guns in a different Resident Evil movie.
My favorite is still when people blame video game violence. Like, it's because of the video games, not because they can get access to guns easily. It's a video game. Not that every other country that doesn't have gun issues doesn't have mass murders. It's a video game.
So when Wesker blows himself up, do you guys see the helicopter?
You kind of see like a parachute fly out.
You see a parachute fly out, but whenever it's revealed that Luther Starr is still alive, or Luther West is still alive,
That's fine.
you see the parachute with someone on it fly through the fucking manhole hole.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's very missable. You have to literally be looking for it.
That's cool that it's there all to show that he survived, and that's how he's in 5.
I guess.
Okay.
I wasn't aware you can survive a nuke by being jettisoned from a fucking helicopter with
You
a
can't.
parachute.
But this is Resident Evil, and these movies don't make any sense. I swear these movies get dumber the farther it goes.
And then we get to the big thing where I actually think it was filmed. What was it filmed? I think it was filmed after they were almost done wrapping up, and I think they also wanted Jill back for this movie, but I guess she was working on something else. The actress that played Jill.
They wanted her back for 3, but she was filming Aragon.
Really?
Yeah.
I like that book. I met the author. Movie, not so much.
Either way, she's the stinger in this one, and it's like the best thing ever. And I'm really excited they decided to include her. And it's the same actress too, which is even greater. I never knew that until recently.
They spoil it in the cast.
Oh yeah, they do, don't they?
Yeah, because before it plays, it's playing like Perfect Circle, and it says Jill Valentine, Sienna Gilroy. And it's like, wait, where was Jill Valentine in this movie? And then they do the post-credit scene, or mid-credit scene, where Jill Valentine's there in a Resident Evil 5 outfit with her mind-controlling chest thing. But here's the thing about this, is like, Umbrella Corporation's running out of supplies, the world is over, most of the people are zombies, yet this company conservatively has 50 attack choppers full of commandos to kidnap 3 normal people.
And like 30 other normal people.
And a bunch of civilians. Like, you really need that? Like, you could have just sent Jill down there. Like, she doesn't have superpowers anymore.
We want you to know that things have changed, that it's a new series. Now, we don't care about what we established.
You know what would have been super cool? Mike knows what I'm talking about. I don't know if Blair does. You said they spoil it in the casting call. They should have done it like Metal Gear Solid 4, where Snake has like the gun in his mouth and the credits roll, and then it shows. I was
thinking the same thing.
And then it shows so and so is Jill Valentine, and then it showed the fucking completely missed opportunity.
Yeah.
And Blair was on the Metal Gear Solid 4 podcast.
Were you on the Metal Gear Solid 4 podcast, Blair?
Yes.
Okay.
It was the second time I played that game.
Same here, and there won't be a third.
There'll be a first time for me when that bitch comes out to the HD collection.
Oh, you mean you're never gonna play it then?
No, I mean, there's no way to fucking play. I tried it on the fucking PlayStation, on the PS3 emulator. It would not work.
No, it's one of the games that can't run on the PS3 emulator without a whole lot of adjusting things. Yeah, it's a really tough game to play because almost nothing can handle it. It's one of those.
Only the power of the cell processor in the PlayStation 3 computer entertainment system.
It's strong enough because we built it that way. I mean, it is cool seeing Jill. I couldn't remember if Jill was in this movie or the next movie because I knew it was a thing. I knew that she was in here, and I knew she had the same costume from 5, but I couldn't remember like what. So the only reason I was actually about to turn off this movie because the credits started, and then when I clicked the pause it to turn it off, it said it had, because on Amazon, I watched it on Amazon, it shows who's in different parts, and it had Mila Jovovich, and then it had Jill, and I'm like, oh, there's I'm like, wait a second. So then I checked and saw there's an after credit scene and watched that. I would have missed it completely because I was just.
I thought I posted
done.
That in our chat.
You might have. And somebody probably read it, but then somebody's brain didn't remember it when the movie was playing. So it was cool though. I mean, I like some of that stuff. It just, I don't know. I mean, the beginning of this movie is good. The end of this movie is good. It's just the prison that just bores me, which is unfortunately a good chunk of this film. It just doesn't work for me. But again,
it doesn't help that the prison set is also really boring. Like, it's not like the police station of Resident Evil 2, where it's a police station, but it's this weird Art Deco converted from a museum into a police station set or anything like that. Like, it's just really dull. Also, how much work is it for them to walk around, light all those torches?
And why? Why are you lighting these torches all the time? Like, you have that much gasoline that you can just waste it? Like, you can't go and get more. Again, doesn't fit 8-9 years into Apocalypse. It fits a year, and I'm going to die on that hill. This movie is an early Apocalypse story, not a Apocalypse that's been going on. Because 9 years into Apocalypse, you would have safe places that you would have found by now. You would have had to, or you'd all be dead. Because eventually you're going to have to grow food. You're going to have to make civilization work because you can only scavenge for so long. Because other people are scavenging. And yes, the population is being cut down, but you still are not going to be able to scavenge forever. I think about this a little too much at times. So I really like apocalyptic stuff, and I actually wanted to write a zombie apocalypse book at one time. I did write a book. I just didn't ever do anything with it and lost it. But I wrote it.
I think about this stuff all the time too, but and I'm glad they're finally dealing with it on things like Yellow Jackets, where I only watched the first season. I never watched the second. But my thing is just like, man, women be getting their periods. Like, how y'all handling that? Someone bring up that line of dialogue. Like, that's the thing I need to see. I know most people are like, oh, that's gross. I'm like, no. I need to find out how this works. What are they doing?
Yeah, I mean, you're just looking at, because those are all things that are going to happen to people that are in this situation.
You know who explains that really well?
The Last of Us.
Last of Us. I'm so glad they fucking put that in that show. That's so fucking great.
I should probably watch that show someday, huh? And cover it.
Yeah. I can't wait for you to be sad all fucking week. And that show's fucking depressing.
Of course, that's the game's depressing.
Yeah.
You have noticed how that game hasn't been on the show yet in 280 some episodes at the time of this recording? And is not on the schedule for at least the end of this year, which is over 300 something. There's a reason why that game has never been even thought of being put on the show yet. So
yeah, and of the three of us, only one of us has kids.
Yes. And I do not like that game. I played it once. Actually, Last of Us was the first game that I played when I got back into gaming. I had hooked up my PS3 when I had moved in with Tiffany, my wife, and then I went to GameStop, picked up Last of Us. It was a game I never owned before because I didn't really buy PS3 titles, and so I played that. That was my first game back into gaming, and yeah, it's just depressing. Same with Walking Dead. I can't do Walking Dead. Like me and Joe did the first season 1 years ago. We did 400 days not that long ago, and I just have almost no drive to do more. That's another franchise. It's just too dark.
It only gets worse. You can stop at 1.
I know.
I think the final season's fine.
Yeah, but I got to get through 2, 3, and 4 to get. Wait, there's 3. There's 2, 3, and then the final.
Okay, but it doesn't hit the highs of the first.
That's what I've heard, and Walking Dead is too depressing. It's hard for me, but at least they probably do Apocalypse better than this damn movie does. So
yeah.
Anything else to say about this movie?
I've gone through my notes.
I'm pretty much good too, yeah.
All right, we'll go to shelf, stacker, box, and I'm going to go first. So I was torn. Originally, when I got done watching this movie yesterday, I was like, I'm going to put this in the stack because it was enjoyable but stupid. And the more we talked about it, you guys lowered it to box. Because you just made it dumber than what it was. And it makes me, I'm a little sad that I remember this movie being good. And this movie is not good. So it's going in the box. What about you, Blair?
I don't know. Even though I've kind of gone off on it, I would probably still put it in the stack because it's inoffensive and entertaining enough that every couple of years I'll be like, oh, I'm in a Resident Evil kick. I'm going to go watch all the movies again. And I don't regret it until 6.
Okay. I am so curious about 6. The 6 will be the only new one to me for this journey. So, that's... And what about you, Joe?
So this is very much going to be. To be fair, watching this, before I watched this, I was like, "Oh, I'm putting this on the stack, or not stack. I'm putting this on the shelf because I completely love this movie." Watching this movie, very much, I was like, "Oh, this is the weakest of the entire series." So at the end of the day, I think I'm gonna have to stack it too. After because I've seen all of them multiple times and rewatching them on here. Even times like in the past year, I've been like, "Oh, I really feel like watching a Resident Evil movie because Netflix is on there." And I think Netflix is going to get rid of. They only have the first one, and then the next one, the one after this, and
they're for some reason.
Yeah, and they're already leaving again because they used to have all of them. It doesn't say as far as I know. I can give you a rough estimate while I'm talking. I do believe this is the weakest one of the franchise, even though it has a lot of video game storyline. It really flubs up the video game storyline really badly to where it doesn't make sense. So yeah, at the end of the day, I'm going to put it on the stack.
Okay. Because you brought up a good point, because Death Island is still on Netflix, and I kind of want to give me an excuse. That Infinite Darkness, but Infinite Darkness is not going anywhere, most likely, hopefully, because it was published by Netflix.
July 31st.
That don't mean anything.
July 31st is when the last two Resident Evil movies, Resident Evil Original and Resident Evil Retribution, are leaving Netflix.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to get the 5 by then, so that's okay. It'll be a while. I was just like, Death Island, though.
That doesn't have anything on it, so it's fine. It'll be on there for a while longer.
Okay, good, because I want to watch that, and I don't want to pay for it. So, It doesn't involve my subscriptions I already pay for.
I don't think it'll leave. I think they actually do have kind of a contract with the games because obviously the Netflix show is never going to leave. They produce that.
Are you sure about that? Hemlock Grove has things to say to you, Joe.
Yeah, true.
That's one of Netflix's second shows they ever produced. That's gone. I tried watching it before it got taken off, and I couldn't do it. I was like, this just... it did have an actress that I just freaking think is hot as hell. Tam Jensen is in that show, but I didn't make it more than an episode where I'm like, yeah, I'm good. So Netflix does take shit off sometimes because we can't be paying people. God, what do you think we are, a corporation? All right, I think that's everything we need to say. And Blair, where can people find you at?
Find me on various social media platforms under either Blarcade or my name. You can read my work at comicbookvideogames.com, like the Comic Book Video Games Facebook page, and you can now watch me stream my vast library of superhero games, or most of it, at twitch.tv/Blarcade.
I'm happy that you're streaming. I am. I'm always having people do new things, to try to... So, make me happy to see.
Thank you.
So, I don't stream, and I probably never will, but I think about it sometimes. I just, can't do it. All right, and if you enjoyed this episode, you can hear all our other Resident Evil content will be in the show notes, easy for you to find if you want more Resident Evil, which, hey, maybe you do, maybe you don't, I don't know, but the option's there for you. There's plenty of it. If you're listening to this, you probably do. So, and you can find everything we do on Podbean. We do movies, comics, TV shows, video games, all sorts of content. Who knows what the hell we're going to produce? Type in the search bar, search something, you never know what you're going to find. Part of me want to do like random shout outs in different episodes, but I can't even think of some of the content that we do. Hey, Beautiful Joe, we mentioned that. There's a Beautiful Joe episode, an old ass one with a completely different cast, but it's there if you want to hear about Beautiful Joe and me, bitch. So, listen to that. And if you want to support, so we do have a Patreon. For a little dog, you can vote in our Patreon poll. We have 1 to 2 every month. And when this releases, I don't know what we'll have because this isn't coming out in September. We're recording this in July, but just to go check out our Patreon, support the show. We do have a Discord. Please join our Discord. Free. We're always happy to have new people join us, chat with us. I want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Elena at Hellhastfree. You can follow her on TikTok, Twitch, and Instagram. And also want to give a shout out to Bill Tucker, the Gamer Looks At For You. If you go check out his show. And if you want to hear Final Fantasy, he's got plenty of it all year. So I know that won't change by the time this comes out. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, Squirrel Videos, YouTube, audio only. But you can find us on all the different platforms. I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Everyone will have their day to die.